Hello everyone and welcome again to another one of my videos. My name is Sean from Simple Sean and today we have yet another broken item, but this rather stylish and fancy HP Hewlett-Packard. Does it actually state which model it is? It just says Pavilion here, but as you can see it's actually in relatively good condition. From what I can see, looks like it's, well, I'd say not barely used, but the person who had this before kept this in very good nick. Now I got this off the internet. I think it was a good price. I think it was around £40, and the thing is that they say it doesn't turn on. So let's just check. Press and hold. Yeah, getting absolutely nothing from there. What I've done ahead of this, because this only came as a laptop by itself, so what I did is I actually bought a an actual charger for this laptop, and the genuine one as well. I have a thing about knockoff chargers burning down the house, so I actually went and bought a proper HP charger off Amazon for an additional £20. And it's the first time I've plugged it in. But what I want to do, let me just move this across a little bit. What I want to do is, here it is, I'm going to plug it into the side of that. What I want to do is just check to make sure that the voltage is exactly what it states to be. So on this brick it says it's supposed to be outputting, oh it's very difficult to see, but it's supposed to be outputting, I think it's 19 volts. Let's have a look. I'm struggling to find exactly where that text is. Oh yeah, at the bottom here. Output 19.5 volts at 2.31 amps, and it's a 45 watt charger. We're not going to be checking the watts, but we will be checking the volts. So that's supposed to be 19.5 volts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this lovely baby into voltage mode. It's on DC, as you can see here. I'm just going to leave it on top of this keyboard. Hopefully it won't scratch it, just so you guys can see. And I'm going to put negative on the outside of this, and the positive goes in there. And what do we get? 19.89 volts. So that's perfect. That is exactly where it should be. I'm happy that that charger is outputting what it needs to. So right now you've got the charge port, and then right next to that, I'm assuming that's an LED. So let's see if anything actually happens. So in that goes, and we get absolutely nothing on here. Absolutely nothing. Nothing's lit up at all. If I press this, do we get anything? No, absolutely nothing. So as you can see, we're getting absolutely nothing here. It's a bit of a shame, but that does lead me to think that maybe it's just an issue with one of the power components inside this laptop. Not getting anything whatsoever, nothing's lighting up, no fan spin, no LEDs. So time to open this thing up and see what's going on. One moment. So before I do that, actually, one thing I want to do is just to make sure that by plugging it in, it hasn't actually tripped the power supply. Now, some problems, when they're plugged in, sometimes what may happen is that it might trip out the actual power supply. And I just want to make sure that that hasn't happened in this case. So if I just take the back probe and put that on the side again, stick that in, what do we get? And it has. It 100% has tripped out this. Unless I haven't got that on properly. Let's try that again. It has actually tripped out the power supply. So let's take that out for a moment. Plug that back in. This one doesn't have like a status LED, so I don't know if, just by looking at it, if it's on or not. So I've just switched it off and back on. And there we go, we've got the 20 volts. So something tells me as soon as this is plugged in here, it trips out the power supply for whatever reason. Something in here, in this power supply, is cutting out to protect what's going on in this board. So I'm taking this out again. Here we go, stick that up there. And as you can see, look, absolutely no voltage coming through this. So this is cutting out in order to protect the actual laptop motherboard. So we are now down to just this motherboard. This is the thing that is causing us a problem. And first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. We're going to give it a bit of a once over and see if we can find anything that is going on with this that looks wrong. Does it look burnt? Does it look charred? So here is where the power comes in. It comes into this board. What we're going to do, we're going to start just checking all of these, making sure that actually what they're outputting is what they should be outputting. Okay guys, so I'm back, and I must admit, I've been looking at this board for a very, very long time. But I thought, you know what, let me stop, calm down, and go back, because there was one thing I was thinking I hadn't checked, and it was the actual power cable. So you would have seen me say back in my previous videos that if you've got a power source, start from the place where power comes in, and this is it. And when I gave this a proper look over, I noticed something, and it's right here. So let's see if we can get a focus on here. Let me put it in my hand, hopefully you can see it better this way. So if you have a look here, you'll see that there's a burn mark, an actual burn mark on the power cable. Now I have a feeling at some point with the way that this is bent that that's been pinched or has just frayed itself loose, possibly causing a bit of arcing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to straighten this out. I'm going to plug this in and I'm going to put this into the board, and I want to see what happens here. I actually have a sneaking suspicion that when I plug this into a board with these wires straight, that this will probably work. So this is why it's so important to actually do things from the beginning, because, you know, I spent a long time looking at things on the board, and actually it looks like the problem actually lies with this cable. Maybe it was arcing because it was bent in this particular position, but you can definitely tell that there is some scoring, some burns around there. So I'm going to plug this in. I don't expect it to go fizzing or popping or anything like that. I'm going to have this as straight as possible, and we're going to see when we stick this in if that power light stays on. So let's give this a try now. So again, make sure there's nothing underneath here. That's good. The LED is just here. So I think that that may work. If the LED comes on and stays on, then we know it's delivering power to this board, and we might have a chance of fixing it. So let's do that now. Plugging it in, and let's see what happens. And look at that, we've got a white light. Now I'm assuming this white light means it's charging, or it thinks it's fully charged, because remember, we don't have the battery there. So this is actually quite positive. Yeah, what I'm thinking of doing, let's see if we can repair this. I'm going to try and repair this cable. Let's do that now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can get something to open this up. Probably a small little blade. Just try and open this sheathing up, and then snip this wire off. Snip it at the other end, and then we'll kind of splice another wire, put another little cable in. I do have some spare, and then I've got some of these heat wrap things, so I will heat wrap the actual cable so it doesn't come into contact with anything else, and I think that may get it working again. Right, let's see. I don't know if this is an actual issue with these chargers. I've never seen this before, but maybe that this is an actual issue that they have with with cables like this. So what we're going to do, let's see if I can gently open this. I'm going to keep that just in case I need to order this again, in case I break it. So let's just gently open that open. Nice. Okay. So that's now. Right, let's get rid of this completely if we can. Wants to cling on. And what we'll do here, I want to try and cut it here and here, and then just put another piece of cable in here and see what we can do. Let's see what cables I've got. So in my big box of tricks, I have this black cable, which I think will do the job. It doesn't really matter too much the fact that this is black, because I'm going to wrap it with this heat shield, which basically means that it will be looking red after we're done. So we've got black cable, we've got that, and then I'm going to use this fatter black to just cover the wires back like it was before, and hopefully everything will be good. So I am going to use my blade, and I'm going to cut here just before and I'm just going to cut just after. If I can't get this right, then I'll just have to order a replacement part. Right, so let's try and expose the cable without cutting it all off. Just need a little bit more light in here. 1 second. Oh, much better. Right, let's try this now. Okay. So that's that side. And that's this side here. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm just basically going around this bit by bit and just using the Stanley blade to take more and more of it off. Here we go. I'm starting to see it now. In order to get this to join, what we're going to need to do is use a soldering gun, and we're going to tin both of these ends. We're going to tin the two ends here, and then we're going to join them together, and then we'll use the heat wrap. So this heat shield will basically go inside or over these cables, and then I'm going to use a heat gun, I'm going to use a lighter to kind of shrink it so it makes a nice little join. There's a smidge more flux here, and what we're going to do is that we're just going to tin these two bits together. So let's just put a bit more, there we go, on there. Alright, let's get these together now. Sorry, I keep on taking out of view. So what I'm trying to do now is just bend these so they freely touch one another, so I can get the soldering gun, or the soldering iron, sorry, and just push them together. Something like that. Right, so it's a tad more solder. I'm going to try and have this on here. Really don't want to get too close to the tip, so let me get the tweezers and then just hold that close to this join as much as possible. There we go. And there we go. Yep, that's quite solid, that join. So now that both ends are happily together, what we've got with this heat wrap thing is we can now cover both of these, both of the joins, and then I'm going to get a lighter, and then when I light it, this will shrink all the way down, holding this together and also colouring it red, which is what it really needs to happen. This will just prevent anything from touching this, or prevent the instance of this touching anything inside the case and sparking or arcing out. Just protects the wires, and then when we've done with that, we'll get the bigger one and then we'll just wrap that up again. We have lots and lots of candles in the house, so actually finding a lighter wasn't that difficult. And for those who haven't used one of these before, what happens is that when you put heat over this, it shrinks to the actual cables. There we go. It's a little bit sooty. It's not exactly 100% red anymore. It's a little bit sooty, but that doesn't matter. The most important thing is that that's made a nice little bond with the cable underneath. Just giving it a little bit more protection, everything else around it as well. So hopefully that will stay together. As I say, I might end up just buying another one of these pieces anyway. Hopefully they'll be quite inexpensive, but it'll be good to actually repair it rather than just replace. So what I said, I'm going to put another one over this. Hopefully this is big enough to fit. Let's go this way in. Yes, it is. Just need to cut it down to size. And hopefully, even though this will be covered, it will still retain its flexibility, so I can still bend this into shape as and when I need it to. Right, so let's get this shrank. I was going to use some words that don't exist. Does shrank exist? I don't think it does. Okay. You don't need to put too much into this. As you can see, it's already done. I don't want it to be too tight. I do want it to have the ability to bend. But this is how it was when I took it apart. And I'm trying to make it as factory, I'll put that in loose quotes, as factory as it was before I put my mitts on it. So now that that's done, I suppose the real question is it still working, or have I completely broken it? So what we'll do, we'll stick that back into or onto the motherboard and we'll see if it's still working. Right, so the light's now off. The charger has now been plugged in there. Last thing I need to do is just plug the charger into here. See if it switches on. So the light has come on, that's a good sign. So we've still got electricity making its way onto the board in a way that actually it's still happy with it. So last thing to do really is put this board back enough for me to test. Does it charge the battery? Does it actually switch on? I'm hoping it does. It's looking promising. Let's go. So I've now got the laptop back, I think, enough to test. So what I'm going to quickly do is, let's see if I can move this to the side a little bit, because the power port is still hanging out a little bit. So I'm just going to plug this in, and then we'll turn it on from the mains and see what happens. Okay, there we go. As you can tell, I've only put it together enough for it to test. Everything's still loose. I've even put the battery in there just to see if it will start charging that. And now time to plug it in, see what happens. 3, 2, 1. So we've actually got an orange light. The light is orange. That's good, I think. Does that mean it's charging? Because it's not white. So I'm assuming that means it's charging. So does that mean we now have power to the board? 3, 2, 1. And look, we've got a white light. Will anything come on the screen? I did hook the screen up. I can hear fan spin. Does anything pop up on screen? So we've got the laptop working, but the image on screen has not come on. But this is progress. This means the laptop is on. We do have power, and I believe it is charging the battery. So that's great. I'm going to open this up again. I'm just going to double check the screen connection, just make sure that that's actually in. We'll go back in a minute. And when I did that, what I did is I took some IPA and I just cleaned the contacts. I cleaned the contacts on the ribbon and I cleaned the contacts on the motherboard, hoping that that would make a difference. So now that everything's back together, let's turn it on and see what happens. So light still comes on, the screen popped up, and there we go. We now have, oh fantastic, we've now got a display. As you can see, boot device not found. We know that there doesn't have a hard drive in there, so that's exactly what we're supposed to be seeing. So this is fantastic. This laptop is working again. What it was a dodgy cable on the input here. So the little wires that came onto here into the motherboard, one looked like it had a crack on it, maybe because it was bent really weird, or maybe it got caught in something. But yeah, because of that, the motherboard, well, the actual laptop wouldn't boot up. So I have a feeling because it was so bent, the electricity wasn't actually being able to pass through that cable. Maybe it had bent so much that it had actually frayed and the current couldn't pass, meaning that nothing could happen on this laptop. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the DVD in, we're going to put a hard drive in there. I'm sure I've got a SSD around here somewhere, and we're going to install Windows and see how that goes. But yeah, looks like we've got the laptop up and running. I'll show you the end result. Hopefully it's a good one. Okay, thank you very much for watching again. If you like the content that I do, feel free to like and subscribe, because then you'll get notified when I come out with other videos. And I'm hoping to keep them as interesting as this. Now again, my name is Simple Sean, and again, it was a very simple issue to why this laptop wouldn't turn on. So I encourage anyone, if you are going to have a look at anything that you've got at home and you're not experienced and you're not skilled like me, when you do, check the simple things first. If you're not having power, check the little cables where the power comes in. As you can see here, something quite obvious, easy fix, and away you go. Your item is up and running and you can use it again. You know, it keeps on going, and that way less stuff in waste and more stuff being used, getting used, and keeping you happy. Okay, well that's me for now. Until next time, we'll see you again soon.